Not every NBA team has started off in the city or with the name that they currently have, so let's take a look at each team and its history from beginning to now. If you're a fan of any of the following teams, my apologies, but they all share the same history in that they have always been known by a single name in a single city. The Boston Celtics, the Chicago Bulls, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Dallas Mavericks, the Indiana Pacers, the Miami Heat, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Minnesota Timberwolves, the New York Knicks, the Orlando Magic, the Phoenix Suns, the Portland Trail Blazers, and the Toronto Raptors. In 1946, the Buffalo Bisons were established as part of the National Basketball League, or the NBL, and just 38 days later were moved to Moline, Illinois, where they became the Tri-City Blackhawks. After joining the NBA through league mergers, the team was moved to Milwaukee, where they were renamed the Milwaukee Hawks. From there, they moved to St. Louis, keeping the Hawks name before landing in Atlanta in 1968, where they currently reside as the Atlanta Hawks. The Brooklyn Nets started out as the New Jersey Americans in 1967 after joining the American Basketball Association, or the ABA, and relocated just 1 year later to Long Island, New York, where they changed their name to the New York Nets. In 1977, the team moved back to New Jersey and thus became the New Jersey Nets until 2012, when the new ownership group, which already included New York-based rap artist Jay-Z, moved the team to Brooklyn, and they now became the Brooklyn Nets. The Charlotte Hornets have an interesting history, which also covers the New Orleans Pelicans, as they have gone by that name twice with two separate teams. In 1988, George Shinn established the Hornets as an expansion team in Charlotte, but would move the team in 2002 to New Orleans to become the New Orleans Pelicans in 2013. While this was happening, Charlotte would be granted a second team in the NBA, then known as the Charlotte Bobcats. They would play under this name until they announced in 2014, just 1 year after the previous Hornets became the Pelicans, that they were changing their name back to the Charlotte Hornets to reclaim that name. 1967 saw the creation of the Denver Larks as a franchise in the ABA, but would change their name to the Denver Rockets before even playing a single game. In 1974, the team would once again undergo a name change to become the now Denver Nuggets, a name they have kept through even the ABA and NBA merger to this day. The Detroit Pistons actually started off in Fort Wayne, Indiana as the Fort Wayne Zollner Pistons in 1937 as a semi-pro team that turned professional in 1941 upon joining the NBL. After joining the Basketball Association of America, or the BAA, in 1948, they became known as just the Fort Wayne Pistons and didn't move to Michigan in 1957, where the Bad Boy Pistons of the 1980s were located. Before Steph Curry joined the league and lit up the scoreboard for the Golden State Warriors, the team started out in Philadelphia in 1946 as the Philadelphia Warriors. The team moved in 1962 to San Francisco, where they became the obviously named San Francisco Warriors, which had players such as Tim Hardaway and Chris Mullin. Today, the Splash Brothers rule the court for the now well-known team known as the Golden State Warriors. The San Diego Rockets were founded in 1967, but wouldn't stick around the area long before moving to Houston to become the Houston Rockets in 1971, where they would draft franchise superstar Akeem Olajuwon with the number 1 overall pick in 1984, just 2 spots ahead of Michael Jordan. The Buffalo Braves came into existence in 1970 as an expansion team led by Hall of Famer Bob McAdoo. However, in 1978, due to disagreements over the stadium with a local college team, ownership moved the team to San Diego and renamed them the Clippers after the sailing ship commonly seen in the San Diego Bay. Then, in a surprise move in 1984, owner Donald Sterling moved the team to Los Angeles without league approval, but was allowed to stay following some legal back and forth, resulting in the team today known as the Los Angeles Clippers. The other Los Angeles team also didn't start out on the West Coast, but instead confined its origins in Detroit. The Detroit Gems were a team in the NBL, but they were disbanded after just 1 season and sold for $15,000 in 1947. The new owners relocated to Minneapolis and named them the Minneapolis Lakers, as Minnesota is known as the land of 10,000 lakes. Following some financial issues and the retirement of star George Mikan, the team moved in 1960 to Los Angeles and are, of course, now the Los Angeles Lakers and one of the most storied franchises in the league. The lone professional sports franchise in Tennessee is the Memphis Grizzlies, or the Grizz, but they weren't always located in Memphis. Back in 1995, the team joined the NBA as an expansion team out of Vancouver, Canada, known then as the Vancouver Grizzlies. The team didn't make the move to the States until 2002. Next, we are off to Seattle, Washington, home of the Seattle Supersonics, or at least it used to be when the team was founded there in 1967. The Sonics had a long life in Seattle, playing there for 41 years, but following a lawsuit where the city of Seattle sued the ownership to try to force them to stay and play through the last 2 years of their lease, the team moved to Oklahoma City in 2008 to become the Oklahoma City Thunder. Although there are often rumblings of Seattle having another team, it has not yet materialized. The Philadelphia 76ers can trace the origin back to Syracuse, New York, where in 1946 an Italian immigrant, Danny Biasone, sent a $5,000 check to the NBL to become the founder of the Syracuse Nationals. They stayed in the NBL only 3 seasons. As the NBL merged with the NBA, the Syracuse Nationals persisted until 1963 when the team was bought by investors and moved to Philadelphia to fill the void that the Warriors left when they headed out to San Francisco. They renamed the team the Philadelphia 76ers in reference to the Declaration of Independence being signed in 1776. The Sacramento Kings history is far longer than I originally thought, stretching back to 1923 in Rochester, New York, with the creation of the Rochester Seagrams, which was a semi-professional team and played until 1943, with a quick change to the Rochester Pros before becoming the Rochester Royals in 1945, before joining the NBA in 1948. Unfortunately, as the league grew, it became difficult to have a financially successful team in a mid-sized city, so the team was moved to Cincinnati to become the Cincinnati Royals in 1957. The team moved again in 1972 to Kansas City and started off as the Kansas City Omaha Kings before shortening the name to just the Kansas City Kings after 3 seasons. The team name was changed to the Kings because the Kansas City Royals already played there and they wanted to avoid any confusion. Once again, unable to find success and a fan base to sustain the team, they moved one last time to 1985 to Sacramento to find a so far permanent home as the Sacramento Kings. In 1967 to 1973, Dallas became the home to the Dallas Chaparrals of the ABA, with a brief name change in 1971 to the Texas Chaparrals in order to try to appeal to a more generalized geographic fan base. Surprising to look back on it now, but the team suffered due to team ownership not wanting to invest money in players and general lack of interest from the Dallas area. In 1973, a group of San Antonio businessmen worked out a deal for the team that was essentially a lease with an option to buy. The deal was that the new group would more or less rent the team from the current owners and complete the purchase within 3 years, or the team would revert back to and return to Dallas. The upside of the deal was that the team could be immediately moved to San Antonio. After the move, the team was renamed to the San Antonio Gunslingers, but would never play a game under that name, becoming the San Antonio Spurs before the start of the regular season. While New Orleans now enjoys the Pelicans as their home team, it isn't the first basketball franchise they've had in their city. The New Orleans Jazz was founded in 1974 as an expansion team, as an obvious tribute to the city's jazz musical roots. The team lasted only 5 seasons in New Orleans, however, before they were moved to Utah, where they are still today and remain the Utah Jazz. Last but not least, the Washington Wizards have been through several name changes in 3 different states, having started off as the Chicago Packers in 1961 as NBA's first expansion team. The name was chosen because of the city's bustling meatpacking industry, but was changed the next year to the Chicago Zephyrs, as fans didn't like the name because of the NFL rivalry with the Green Bay Packers. This too only stuck for a year before the team was moved to Baltimore and became the Baltimore Bullets, taking a name from a previous basketball team in the city. In 1973, the team moved its arena 30 miles into a suburb of Washington, D.C., and thus became the Washington Bullets, which remained that way for 23 years until 1997. Despite the fact that the Bullets name was taken from a previous franchise, the name had taken on a bad tone given Washington, D.C.'s high homicide and crime rate. It was said that this made the owner increasingly uncomfortable over the years, and in 1997 held a contest to name the team. The finalists were Dragons, Express, Stallions, Sea Dogs, and Wizards. There was some controversy over the new Wizards name, as it is a rank within the Ku Klux Klan, but the name stuck. Despite having had Michael Jordan play for the team, he went on to become the principal owner of the Charlotte Hornets, although he was a minority owner of the Wizards in 2000. Thanks for watching. This was a fun video for me to make, and I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that like button and consider subscribing, as I upload a short every single day, and I try to do longer videos like this one twice a week.